All right, he's shutting it down. Let's see what else he has to shut down. Let's go, Wes.
86, John Chrysostom says that Christmas was being celebrated on December 25th and describes it as a long-time tradition. The Phalocalian calendar, produced in 354, had Christmas listed as a holiday on December 25th already. The first...
Wow. Okay, I don't even know what type... Well, I don't even know what calendar that was, but apparently this calendar called Christmas a December 25th holiday in 354 AD. Interesting. So he's giving us multiple references, and I encourage you to do your own research. You don't want to take anyone's word for what it is online, but this guy is legit. So I personally believe him, and I've done some research, and what I found along the way is his perspective is true. He's shutting down these myths.
354 had Christmas listed as a holiday on December 25th already. The first-hand sources suggest quite strongly that Christmas being celebrated on December 25th was at least an established tradition by the early 4th century within the Christian church. The truth of the matter is that no one really knows when the birth of Jesus was. Some in the early church believed it had to have been in the spring due to the shepherds' presence in the fields. Shepherds were in the fields from March to November, and during the winter rain months, it's unlikely, although not impossible, that they would have been out grazing with their sheep. So where did the date of December 25th come from then? Well,
good question.
There was an idea within early Christianity that if you were really holy, you would die on the day you were conceived. This was calculated mainly because the Old Testament would record the life of individuals like Moses and present round numbers without adding months or days for how long they lived. For example, in Deuteronomy 3:7, it says that Moses was 120 years old when he died. Well, the most holiest man who ever lived was Jesus. Therefore, the early church thought he must have died on the day he was conceived. Going off of the evidence in the Gospels as to when the crucifixion was, which they believed counted out to March, and then they counted ahead 9 months, they got December 25th. Is this something we today should hang our hat on? Well, the jury is out on that one. Nonetheless, no matter which way you swing it, December 25th was not chosen for pagan reasons, and the poetry concerning the light of the world coming into the world in the darkest time of the year in the Western Hemisphere is not lost on me. So, December 25th might not have pagan origins, but certainly some of the others must, right? I mean, what about Christmas trees? After all, don't I bring sacrifices to it while holding hands with my loved ones to sing songs before bowing down to retrieve my presents in pagan?
And that question, I mean, the whole thing about the tree being this idol that we worship and that we bow down to and we bring sacrifices to, I can't even get with that, because when you think about the Christmas tradition, you're bringing presents to give to people. Sacrifices are when you're giving these things to the gods or the goddesses, the demons, and you don't take them back for yourself. You don't give them to your family members after you've sacrificed these things. So that doesn't even line up. Now, again, I'm not a theological scholar, so maybe there was a time where they would sacrifice things to these idols and then take those sacrificed things back to distribute to their families. But I don't recall reading that anywhere in the Bible, but please correct me below if I'm wrong, because I could very well be.
Worship? Once again, the sources we do have for the origins of the Christmas tree aren't even remotely pagan. One potential comes from the story of St. Boniface from the 8th century, when he's said to have cut down the sacred oak tree that the locals had dedicated to Thor. When he wasn't killed by lightning, he's said to have pointed to the fir tree and dedicated it to Christ. Some scholars have hypothesized that the tradition arose from the paradise trees in the 1500s. A paradise tree was an evergreen tree decorated with fruit to represent the tree of life in the Garden of Eden, and a play telling the Genesis story would be done around the paradise tree. The plays were typically held on December 24th, and then, as the fruit was taken off the tree, remained The tree remained, and it was then decorated for the next day in celebration for Christmas. These trees set up in people's houses would remind them of the Garden of Eden on Christmas Eve and the restoration of Christ coming into the world of the garden to come in the new heaven and the new earth.
Wow.
There is also a famous story linked to the Protestant reformer Martin Luther, in which he is said during a winter evening stroll to have been overcome with the brilliance of the stars in the night sky, painting the background over the evergreen forests. In order to capture this moment, it is recorded that Luther cut down and erected a tree in the main hall of their house, covering its branches with lighted candles. Although the tradition was well known from that point on in Germany and dispersed parts of Europe, it was not practiced in Britain until the 19th century. When Queen Victoria married her German cousin Prince Albert, the custom was brought into the household of the British royal family. From then on, it was associated with royalty, and wealthier middle-class families soon followed suit with the tradition during the holiday season. Over here in Canada, where I live, it had been adopted.
I love how he's giving us not only biblical references, but the historical references that align with the biblical reference. Like he's giving us the story about what was actually happening in history, as well as the actual scripture, which is very enlightening. I hope you're getting enlightened in this conversation.